What up, fam? I am Dr. De Luna, and you are listening to Drop It Like It's Doc podcast. Today, I have on Gianna Mauceri. She's one of my best friends, but beyond that, she is a soul counselor and offers many different modalities of integrative healing. And today, we talk all about her near-death experience. She was in a pretty severe accident, and she didn't take that experience into victimhood. She took it as a huge part of her healing journey. Today, we talk spirituality, intuition, following your life's path. This is an incredible conversation that you are not going to want to miss. Tune in. Hello, Gianna. I am so happy to be sitting in these chairs in this room with you.
So grateful. Thank you so much for having me.
You're so welcome. I mean, as the first guest in this new space, it was only appropriate that it was you, because if the viewers don't know, we are currently sitting in our healing collective, Ashira Rose Healing Collective, and this room brings me so much joy, and you bring me even more joy. So before we jump into this entire beautiful conversation, I would love to just speak to you from my heart as to why I'm having you on. So, Gianna, I remember meeting you at yoga and just seeing you come and go in the studio, but we had never really crossed paths. And once we did cross paths, you just became someone so near and dear to my heart. And truly, you have changed my life in countless ways. You have helped me access my intuition, and you have helped me access realms beyond this world that I don't know if I would have been able to really touch without having your guidance, and also just your ability to tap in both a very grounded but also very spiritual way. You, for the listeners that don't know, you are the whole reason really that I stayed in San Diego. And I'm definitely going to cry because I had every intention of leaving this city and the universe wouldn't let me. And I didn't know what I was going to do with the medical practice. And I will never forget sitting in that same yoga studio, just so lost. And that lost feeling was something that I hadn't felt again until about 2 months ago. And the first time I felt that lost feeling, I looked at you and said, I just want a room that I could put plants in to see patients in. And you looked at me with your precious eyes that you're looking at me with now and said, I have a room. Do you want to put plants in it? And we shared that first space. It helped me grow and have the confidence to be on my own as a medical provider, which truly, I can just pause and thank you from the bottom of my heart, because who knows where in the world I would be? Who knows what my medical practice would look like? And now, coming full circle to that same feeling that I had, that's what prompted us to open up this space together. And you are amazing. You are so gifted. You are so healing just to be in your presence. And I think that being around someone like you that is so tapped in, but also grounded and also just so loving and real helps everyone else in the world dip their toe into that realm without being intimidated or feeling like it's too, like woo-woo or fairy. And just thank you for being alive. Thank you for choosing to come back. Thank you for being an angel in my life. Thank you for sharing your gifts. And thank you for sitting across from me and birthing this baby with me.
Wow. Just taking that all in and just receiving all of that yumminess. And thank you so much for that warm and very, very heartfelt introduction. And yes, definitely bringing the waterworks into my eyes as well. And I'm just so honored to be here and feel exactly the same about our journey and our path. And I just remember girl crushing on you like the first time I remember taking your class, the first yoga class, and it was a whole experience, your music, everything. I was like, who is this amazing goddess? So yes, to be sitting across from you now in this space is, it's kind of surreal some days. I just walk in here and I'm like, this is ours. And we created this together. It's so amazing. So thank you so much.
Thank you. You are welcome. Thank you for sharing that I was one of your girl crushes. Right back at you. And I feel like our story is so synchronistic in so many ways. And even in creating the space on a daily basis, the amount of synchronicities that we have is incredible. And I would love to just dive a little bit into your journey, because I doubt that a lot of my listeners know where you come from, how you came here, and what your journey has been like to be this incredible woman that you are.
Wow, thank you so much. Where do I start? Well, here I am in a wellness collective, and this was years in the making. This has been years in building, and honestly, I started behind the chair as a hairdresser. That was where I came from, and I feel like listening to people all day who would share their most intimate secrets and parts of themselves, and I was the listener, and I took, I would be that kind of secret keeper for everybody. So I was like, hey, I really love this. I love doing this, and what if I actually did this for like my career? And I moved my way in from the hairdressing realm into the healing realm. So I started studying while I was hairdressing in the integrative healing arts. So I would travel to Costa Rica and different parts of the country, and I was really immersed in studying things like first of all, it started with my own inner work. So I started with my own healing. I went through a divorce, and that only gave me space enough to recognize that I had been dating the same guy with a different name all these years. I just had this repetitive pattern of giving myself away and giving my power away to other people, specifically in relationships, and notice this habit or this pattern within me, that it was kind of like a wake-up call. And it was like, this is something for you to take responsibility for now. Take responsibility for yourself, because I knew I just doing this, and the divorce was really hard on me. So I went and I found a mentor. I found the guidance that I needed at the time to help me understand myself. And because of this, I was having such profound realizations and understandings, and really, really tapping into loving myself and taking my power back, and being like, hey, I've been giving this away for so many years to everybody. I was so codependent, and I really just wanted to understand my why. Like, why? What's my reason? What's my purpose? So I immersed myself in it, and I did my own healing work. It was the best thing that I could ever have done or invested my time or life into. And it helped me to heal and to understand, traumas and things that I had held all the way from childhood. And like I said, it was just so profound. I loved it so much that I wanted to share it with other people. And I realized that this is my purpose. So that's what I was kind of working my way out of the hairdressing and moving into the healing realm. And it was kind of like a 2x4. Like, my angels were like, okay, let's really move you into your purpose here. And this is, I was coming home from yoga one night, and the 2x4 was, I was in a head-on collision. So I was hit by a drunk driver who was driving the wrong way on the freeway. And that was where my life changed forever. So that was my turning point for me. I was severely injured. The other driver didn't make it. I was in a coma for a week long, as you know. You were there.
I was.
I was in yoga teacher training as well. It was like my second or third yoga teacher training at Indie Yoga Ocean Beach. And I was driving home in the 5. So yeah, like I said, I was in a coma for a week. When I woke up, I was like, holy shit, I'm really badly injured, for starters. But for second of all, it was a really deep knowing and understanding that this was my life's purpose. This was like, I don't know, this was my life's purpose. And it came to me in this way of the accident to show me that once I heal through this, and all the healing work that I had done prior to this was all part of leading up to me being able to get through it and to make through it. So all the tools. So like we can go through our healing process and it can be all, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. It's actually the opposite. It's like really, brings up a lot of stuff. We take a lot of time to sit in our emotions and our feelings. But something like this, something like so traumatic, is really where it was like, okay, you have the choice now. You can either not use your tools that you learned and get, completely swept away by this trauma and really like live in it like a victim, or you can take all those tools that you learned before, all these healing tools and more that you can learn along the way, and use it as an opportunity to really heal, to really get in there and really take care of myself and my body, so that later down the track, I would be able to hold that space for other people who have been through crises or going through crises, going through trauma, and need to learn those tools to come back to their center. And it was really a test for me. It was a test for me of like, can I do this? Can I take care of myself this way? And it was like living on the edge, and like it wasn't easy. It was like some days I was like on that ledge of like, I can't do this, and other days I was really strong. But that was what it was all about. It was like, how can we respond to those days that are harder than others, and just love ourselves no matter what, in the shit, in the funk, in the trauma, and just allow ourselves to be in love each moment and find that compassion. So here I am, and that was my choice. That was the one I chose. And that's why I'm just really happy to be here every day, like literally so happy to wake up, even when shit's, I'm still a human. I still go through, hardship, hard days. But I have so much gratitude just for this like actual body, the like thing that healed, and that I was a part of that healing. And so for me, that's been my journey. And that's really what I want to help other people to understand, is that no matter where we're at in life, like anywhere that we're at, we can love ourselves. And that's just what I'm here to share, is to share, love. And the contrast to love is like fear, and we all go through that. So I just want to hold space for people to feel that fear and go through their trauma and love them unconditionally through it, and help them love themselves unconditionally through it. So that's what I spend my days doing in a nutshell. And that's what I will be continue providing here in this space.
You are so inspiring, and I know that for you, of course, the accident was such a pivotal moment in your life and in your story, but even before the accident, you were already doing that work, like you said. And it's interesting, even going all the way back, and what prompted you to start that work was the divorce, and saying like, wait, I have a pattern here. Yeah. And instead of being the victim in that situation, like so many people are in any relationship, they point the finger to the other person. You said, no, how am I contributing to this? And that's what opened up this healing journey. And then in your accident, which you were hit head on by someone driving the opposite way on a highway. Yeah. That's pretty crazy. And most people would walk out of that as the victim. And still, because of all the work that you did, you chose to take that as an opportunity to take your healing journey to the next level. And that is something that is so awe-inspiring, something that is so beautiful. So I just needed to say that is truly incredible. And I remember, visiting you after that, and you were really injured, and you were still your smiling, sweet little self. I think you even made tea. I was like, Gianna, wow.
I
Wow.
was like hobbling around. I remember that visit.
You were. It was precious.
It was a challenging visit. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I just know it's my purpose.
Yeah.
So I don't know. For me, there's no other choice. It's just, this is what I'm here to do. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it.
And it is your purpose. Of course it is. Like I said, being around you is healing, and then you offer all these different healing modalities. And to listeners that are tuning in, how do you feel that you were able to connect with your purpose? Because it kind of found you, right? I mean, you were cutting hair, and did you feel like that was your purpose? Like, what did that look like, and when did it click, and what did you experience?
No, hairdressing, I always knew it was not my purpose. That's why it was like, what else is out there? And that's the only thing that I loved about hairdressing was connecting with the people. I mean, I liked the hair too, and I will say I was great at it. I was very educated. I was like probably at the highest level you could be in hairstyling. I trained. I was a teacher. I worked all around the world, really, from Australia, because that's where I'm from. And it brought me here to the States, to where I am today. So the hairdressing was the catalyst, I feel, the talking and the connecting with people. For me, that's where I knew, like, I just remember even being a little girl and just envisioning myself like helping people and guiding people. It just has always been in my nature. My mom was a hairdresser too, and I remember like going into her salon when I was younger, and like I had my own side hustle in her hair salon where I would like massage their hair. It was like the feel-good hustle on the side. And then when they had their colors on, I would like massage their hands and their feet. And I would wake up early on a Saturday because her salon was like in our house to do this. So I don't know, just along the way, it's just been in my nature for people to feel safe. I always feel like I'm like that older sister for people. I'm like the big older sister that loves them unconditionally. It's like, there's no shame here. There's no guilt. There's no anything here. You can just be here and just lay in my bosom.
Lay.
And let me hold you and let me love you. And then let me show you how to like love yourself when I'm not here or when somebody's not here, because that's what it's really all about. And for me, that's what I learned, was to be my own hug, if you will, be my own guide, because we all deserve to know that we have that power within us, that we can hold that space for ourselves, and that, yeah, really the wisdom is within each of us. And sometimes we do need a guide to guide us there, but mostly, you know, my goal or my intention in this world is to show others that you have all of the answers within you, and you don't need anything else. We can want things, and it's nice to like be like, oh, I want them, but we don't need, you know, anything other than us first. And then, you know, and we have been trained or told that it's selfish to like fill up your own cup first or take care of yourself first. But in hindsight, if we don't fill up our own cup first and be that light and love for ourselves first, then how can we love and hold space for anybody else? And so that's always my motto.
And even in saying that, you know, in going back to the piece of how do you find your purpose, really you were just saying that it was something that you were excited about, and then you followed the excitement.
Yeah.
And I think oftentimes as humans we go, oh no, I'm not meant for that, or no, that can't be it. But it's truly as simple as just following what lights you up and what you would do if no one paid you for.
I love that.
Like this podcast.
Yeah, it's true though.
It is.
So yeah, it is. It's a feeling for me, and I always you know, for the longest time, I didn't trust that feeling inside me. And I think that's why I'm so big on, you know, trusting that feeling. Like, try to get out of the thoughts and the mind that wants to tell us those things that, no, I can't do that, or I'm not good enough for that, or I'm not worthy for that. And come into your heart and come into your belly, come into your body and listen to what that's saying to you, because that's where you'll find the answers in your intuition. Yes.
Yeah. Intuition's a tricky thing, just because I remember when I was first tapping into it, I would hear different voices. I would hear the voice of my head, which was usually negative or limiting or judgmental. And then I would feel and hear a different voice that was never limiting or judgmental or rude at all. That's usually my mind. And it was just clear statements, clear truth statements versus these thoughts that could manipulate or question. There was never a question behind the intuition. And I think for me, that really helped solidify it. And I think you were even in my class when I was naming the mind, and I happened to name your mother by accident, because we are that tapped in, that our consciousnesses are now fused into one, hence the birth of our baby. But for you, what does your intuition feel like? I know you said belly, but how would you describe it to someone that is first trying to dip their toe into this intuitive realm?
Yeah, for me, there's all different ways for intuition. So I love the intuition piece, and I love that we all have our own way to feel intuition. For me, it really is a feeling. Like, I will literally feel it in my, it is a lot of my belly. So it's that gut instinct. But there's other ways to tune in that I've tapped into over the years that I didn't realize that I could. We can see what you were explaining, like hearing that voice is our clairaudience. So that's when we hear guidance. And I love that. That's what I tell everybody when they're like, well, how do I know if it's my intuition or not? It's just like you said, if it's a negative, like ego-based or judgmental or, you know, anything like that, that's not our intuition. Our intuition comes purely from our highest self, and that is, you know, that it's love, like that it'll be love and guidance and truth, just like you said. So that's how I would always say differentiating. But we can hear, there's claircognizance as well. That's where it's just a knowing. Do you know when you're just like, I don't know how I knew that, I just knew it. So that's another way that we can tap in. And then there is our, like there's another, it's called clairolfactory, and that's for a sense of smell. And that's one of my superpowers. I was just saying that before this podcast, but that's where like we can tap into, or a smell will even bring back either a memory, or it can be somebody that it reminds you of, or so for me, that's how I like kind of tune in. Is it like an audio that I'm hearing? For me, that always just happens like in those waking hours of the morning, where it's like I'm just waking up and I'll hear some kind of like you said, it's just pure like truth and guidance, you know. So I would say to anyone listening, like for that, just really pay attention to what comes to you, because we can have most people have all of them. It's just about paying attention and looking at what, you know, and there's the clairvoyance too, which is like where we see, and that's not just some lady sitting around with a ball. It can't be, but with a magic ball. But most people are clairvisual, where we like see thin, and it can come in other people. So someone can come in your vision and tell you something, and that's the guidance that you need. So when we really just pay attention, that's all we need to do with our intuition, is pay attention, and you will get the answers that you need through a song on the radio, or through somebody that crosses your path. You'll be like, I can't believe you just said that. That was what I really needed to hear. So I work with all of the clairs, if you will. And clair means clear in French. So it's like clear audience, clear vision, clear whatever.
Oh, I didn't know that. That makes me like the name Claire a lot more.
Yeah, and it comes from, it's originated from like back in New Orleans, because on the French quarters there. And that's where, you know, back in the day, they would build on their clairs, or get clear on their intuitions, because they're all witches.
Yeah, sounds great. As are we. I love this. Something that you really helped me with when I was starting this journey was trusting, but also being open, and not even just being open, but anchoring in my belief to whatever it was. So for instance, angel numbers. I think I reached out to you being like, what does 222 mean? And you're like, whatever it means to you, if you declare, there we are, Claire, then the universe and your angels and your guides will start to show that to you, because that's what you associate it with.
Yeah.
So I think that oftentimes
exactly.
I was like, oh no, it again, that's giving my power away, right? Instead of claiming it and then letting it show up and then trusting when it shows up that that's what it is. Yeah. So thank you for that gift.
Yeah, of course. And yeah, it always is, because what does it mean to you? Because that is how I help people to tune in too. It's like, well, what does it mean to you? What does it feel like in your body when you see it or hear it or feel it, you know? And most of the time we ignore a lot of that, you know, and we get the big gut feeling and we're like, oh, it like hits us in the gut. And then we're still like, sure, I'll do it.
Sure.
And so those are the moments, and that takes practice, and it takes a lot of trust, like you said, within ourselves, to be like, no, you know what, that doesn't feel good. I don't even know why. I don't need a reason or an explanation. It just didn't feel good in my body, so I'm going to walk away. And usually you'll find you're right, and that's a beautiful practice to start with intuition.
Yeah. That is. And then when it's confirmed, then you build that trust. So you bridge the gap of doubt to that of fully trust. And then the universe, once you open up these portals, there's no going back.
Right. Yeah. And again, like, then you have your roadmap to go by with your own intuition. So now you know what 222 means for you when you see it, not what it means for me or what it meant for me at the time, but what it meant for you. And you build your own, I always say it's like building your own language with your divine, because it's different. You know, for me, I see like butterflies and feathers and it's all really light stuff, but some people don't see it. Like, it's different for everybody. So if I told you look out for butterflies and angel wings and shit, it would it just wouldn't work for you. But for me, that's a language that I have created with them, or with myself, with my higher self, and with the divine, and that's what I continue to carry. And I don't want to push that on anybody else. I want them to figure out what it means to them.
And I love that, because I think that there is always this way that we don't want to trust ourselves. And in doing that, and this is truly a game that I've played before I've even done this with my mom before, just because my mom, ever since we were little, her and my grandma, the one that's on my arm, I feel like we are doing the soul dance. We've done it forever. And I remember when I was younger, I would always have visions of people, and then I would see them the next day. Or I would have a dream of something and I would see them the next day. And I would tell my mom this and my grandma this. And my grandma, I remember she told me, she's like, Ashley, we're witches. This is a gift. Keep practicing. And if she didn't tell me that when I was younger, who knows the sides of myself that I would have closed down. I think even the word witch has this negative connotation, but it never did to me. It just made me tap into my power and everything that is outside of this little baby vessel. And then ever since then, I've started to play games with it. In that I would be like, okay, universe, or whatever it is that I'm talking to, show me, or help me know that this is the path by showing me this or that. And even certain times when I'm really anxious, because my brother is a Sagittarius and he is never, you can't pin him down. You can't pin him down. And my mother taught me that if someone doesn't answer the phone, that something bad has happened. Thank you, Mindy. So there have been times where I've called my brother, he won't answer, and I'll sit and I'll play this game with the universe, and I go, he's going to call me back at 11:11. I've done this before with my mom in the car too, and we've both been in panic mode. And what time does Michael call? 11:11. So playing games like this are really fun, and also just tap you back into that power.
Yeah, because it's all around us, and it is created by us as well. Like, we create our own, you know, realities within that too. So I love that you play with it and test it out like that. I do it too all the time. And so I would recommend to anybody who is really working on trusting their intuition is, first of all, just trust it. Just trust it. Like, if you are somebody who's used to not trusting it and going against it, and just play with it and see what happens if I do something differently this time. And that's how we learn, and that's how we break free of things like codependent behaviors and stuff like that too, is by learning to trust our intuition.
And talk about, a tale of trust was you and your healing. And I would love to dive into what your experience was like when you were in a coma.
Sure. Yes. That's one of my favorite experiences that I had. So when I went into a coma, I went into a place that, I guess what I call it, and it's in my book, it's the first chapter in my book, and it's called the in-between realm. And I think it is, for me, it's what makes, for me, my experience so profound for me, and which keeps me connected every single day to this trust, is that when I went into my coma, I went into a place that was like Venice-like to me. So I'd been to Venice many times in my life. It's a really familiar place. And I was on these canals walking, and I could see my body. My body was healthy at the time. And it was like, okay, use this time to play in this in-between realm. So I was playing and doing things like handstands and yoga and doing all these things that I knew that my body would not be able to do back on earth, because I knew I was injured. So I was playing and having a lovely time, and then all of a sudden everything got really serious, and it was almost like I was pulled up from Venice, or my canals, where it was my version of the canals anyway. And so I was pulled up, and this is where I guess my near-death experience, where I came face to face with what I call them angels. You can call them whatever you want, like spirits or guides or whatever. They were my angels. And there were 7 of them. They were like light beings for me. That's what they looked like. So they didn't really there was no body form. There was no anything other than them just being light. And 2 of these beings I recognized from my life that had come to me in visions. So one of them was Archangel Michael, and and he was on my right side. And then there was Archangel Raphael on my left side. So it was like I had my 2 angels here, Michael and Raphael, and then there was 5 other light beings here. And like I said, everything was really serious. It wasn't scary or anything like that. It was actually really beautiful, and I felt very connected to these beings. And again, I always go to my belly, because that's where I feel like there was like this connection to them, and it was a very safe space. And this is where I was offered this decision or choice, whether or not I wanted to come back to my body on earth, or come back to this particular lifetime on earth, or if I didn't want to come back. So it was my choice. The whole thing was my choice. I knew personally that my body was really injured. I knew that if I went back, it was going to be a lot of work. And that felt scary for me at the time, to be honest with you, because I was in this place where it was so peaceful, and I was doing handstands, and I could move, and I was free, and I felt happy. So I was kind of like teeter-tottering of like, well, why would I want to go back to like a broken body and have to, do this? So they gave me time, and they were like, go and play, go back down to your playground, is what it felt like. Which were the Venice canals, and I just walked, and I felt like that whole week I was in a coma, I would go back and forth with the beings, with my angels. And so when things got really intense back down in the canals, they would pull me back up, and they would offer me the choice again. And it was kind of like counsel of like, I had so many questions, as you would. Well, what would happen if I don't go back? And, the simple answer to that was like, you start again. To me, it felt like a reset button. And again, there's no languages here. We're not talking the way that you and I are talking now. It was more of like a understanding of like energy, if you will, exchange. And yeah, so it was like what they would show me was that you would start again, a new life, a new incarnation, a new set of everything, pretty much. And or they would reassure me, you've done so much work in this lifetime and you do have a greater purpose. So they were, it was all up to me. So I'd go back down to the canals. I would keep walking, and the canals just kept opening up. If it came to an end, the canals would just open back up, and there would be like all this other land and water out there. So I would keep walking and pondering, and every now and then I'd do a handstand. And then it just became really light. Things became really light, and I remember coming back. And I don't remember going back and saying, okay, you made this decision. I just remember coming back. And I remember that upon waking, was me kind of coming out of the in-between realm with them. So I was coming out of this most beautiful space and waking up into like what felt like my biggest nightmare, greatest nightmare at the time. And so it was really hard. It was really hard to come back from that place to this place, and knowing that I made that decision too. So again, that's what does keep me really grounded here on earth now, is knowing like, hey, I did make that choice. I chose to be here. I chose to be in this body to heal it and to be back. And it's very comforting to know that I had that guidance and that I do have that guidance. And so I came back, and here I am.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting to cry at this point of the story, but I am. I mean, I even read your book. You're one of my best friends. I've heard this so many times, but it's just beautiful that you chose to come back, because I mean, I'm dramatic and I have my own struggles with mental health and there have been many times that I haven't wanted to be here. Yeah. And I think at the root of that, or what I would come back to, is this feeling of, well, if you don't fix it now, you just start over and have to fix it next time. And with you, you were in that in-between realm, and you were kind of, you were given the choice. Do you go back? Do you heal? Do you do that work? Or do you kind of carry this experience into the next life and heal it then? And you chose to come back, and talk about contrast. You're in the Italian Venice, not the Los Angeles Venice. Was probably quite peaceful.
It was the Italian Venice, by the way.
Yeah, I'm just.
I wasn't out there on those streets. Well, I was, but not those ones.
Yeah, different ones. But yeah, waking up in that room, and what did it feel like to be in your body? Oh,
it was horrible. It was horrible, honestly. Yeah. My parents were there. Oh.
It's fine. It's part of it.
Yes, my parents were there. They had flown from, first of all, I was really confused because I didn't know I was asleep for a week. So I think I was waking up to all this pain in my body, and just like hospital, and, what felt like an army of doctors and nurses. Everyone was just looking at me. And I do remember, like, it was like coming out of water, like coming out of, like, taking a breath, but also just being really confused of like, how the fuck did my family fly here from Australia so quickly? Yeah, because I just thought it was the next day, but it had actually been a week. So then they had to explain, everyone had to explain to me. Again, I just care so much about other people. I was like, I've got clients to see. We've got to call my clients. It was a Saturday, as a hairdresser, so it's our busiest day. And I knew I had like a solidly booked day, and I was like, we've got to call my clients. And my brother was like, it's okay, sweetie, we've taken care of everything. But yeah, it was horrible. It was really scary. I wanted to go back. I didn't know why I made this choice. I was like second guessing my choice. But it turned out to be okay, and it was amazing to realize, like, wow, I have the best family ever. They just jumped on a plane, every single one of them, and came to be by my side. And the love that poured in from just the outside world was probably really what got me through everything, was just, knowing it. And I think I want to throw this in because it's a really important piece of it. But that day of the accident, I was in a funk. I was in a place where I was questioning my life. I was struggling with like anxiety and stuff like that. And I remember even sending a message to my sister that day, just being like, I don't want to be here anymore. Like, that's like all the things, and I still have that text message that I sent to her. And I was like, nobody cares, nobody loves, I was like in that full on mode. And coming out of that accident, I was like, whoa, I can't believe that I thought nobody cared, or that I wasn't loved, or that I didn't feel supported, because it was really like, I think that's when coming out of it, I realized like that's what the beings were saying, like, you will be supported. And I truly felt like that. I was really supported in all ways.
Yeah. I'll never forget the text that I received from the yoga studio saying what happened to you. Everyone.
What did it say? I'm curious.
It just said that Gianna was in a terrible accident. She was hit head on. The other driver didn't make it. She's in critical care. She's in a coma in this hospital. Wow. We are going to visit and just think and pray, and we'll keep you updated, essentially. But everyone from the moment it happened was thinking about you and was, already energetically supporting you while you were in that in-between state. And I remember when I went to your house shortly after, you showed me a picture of your car.
Yeah.
And this isn't, yes, we explained that this was a head-on collision, but I really want to stress how bad of an accident it was. This was a horrible accident. Mm-hmm. It was, you shouldn't be alive, but you are.
Yeah.
And you are healing and healed and, amazing. But I will never forget the picture of your car and the picture of your airbag.
Oh, the little angel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's shaped into like the shape of an angel.
Mm-hmm. And your whole car was smushed. The whole thing was completely smushed like a can. But somehow there was like an orb around
like
your seat.
Bubble. You're in the driver's seat. It was protected.
Yeah.
It was cool.
And for people that don't, believe in this realm or believe in this divine protection, and I was, maybe hovering between that when I first met you, but your story helped solidify it for me. And reading your book helped solidify it for me too. And just seeing your beautiful healed body and brilliance sitting across from me.
Right.
Confirms it for me. Yes.
I didn't ever think I could even cross my legs like this again. And here we are, crossing our legs, lotus posing.
Yeah, we
our
are.
Little hearts.
Wow. So beautiful. And since I mentioned your book, I would love for you to just show it to the viewers so that they can check her out.
So this is my book, Soul of a Spirit Warrior, a true story of healing, survival, and resilience. And that has everything in very big detail of what happened, the whole story. And I actually started writing it from the hospital bed. So that was when I had that moment of realization that, hey, I can get through this. And not only am I going to get through it, but I'm going to thrive. I'm going to write a book about it. So I had my sister bring my journal into the hospital bed. And mind you, I had a broken right arm. My arm pretty much snapped in half. There's a metal rod holding it together. But I managed to start writing a book with my broken arm. And this is the result of it. So thank you for mentioning it and bringing it up. It's my heart and soul. And I really just wrote it with that intention of like, I know that this book will reach the hearts of those who need it the most. when they're going through something or when their friends are going through something. And that's how it's worked for me. And, I'll wake up just randomly some days with messages from people that I don't know saying like, you don't know how much your book helped me. It came to me at a time where or it had been sitting on someone's shelf for a year and they just happened to read it at a time where they just really needed to read it. So it's it's an energy. It has its own energy. I have nothing to do with it. It came through me, it wrote itself. And and it continues to just make its way to people that just need to read it when they read it. So I am grateful for that.
And I agree that it's something that can inspire you. You don't have to be going through anything severely traumatic to read this book, because the messages in it are universal and they're powerful and they're deep. And a big part of your book that I love is how much inner child work you do in the book and how you bring up your sweet little baby child, Ninny, within you. Yeah. So Ninny. Oh, I think of Ninny a lot, and I can picture you. I've said that to you before, that where were we? We were both sitting on the floor somewhere, and I looked at you, and I just saw Ninny, and I'm like, I saw your little baby girl. I don't remember where we were, but it was very clear to me.
I think I was rolling around on my plush rug in my room.
No, it was before this space was even created. It was years ago.
You just saw her.
I just saw her. So amazing. Our sweet little babies inside. Yes. That's where so much of this comes from, too, is that they're scared.
Yep. And that's pretty much the basis of the work that I do with people in my practice. Is we really just tap into the inner child, but in a really loving and nurturing way. So, we're not trying to relive trauma. We just want to bring light to, and again, it doesn't even have to be trauma. It's just like, what happened along the way, or what belief did you take on, or did that little sweet one take on? Because we do take on beliefs. It happens usually between the ages of 0 to 7, and 0 meaning in utero. We can take on our mother's energy when we're in the belly, or how they're feeling. All the way up to, we say 0 to 7, but I would say there's ages 0 to 10, Phil. They're the most prevalent years of our lives, and that's where most of our beliefs come from, beliefs about ourselves, beliefs about the world. So that's what I do with people. We go back and we just listen to, like, what's their story? What's the child's story? Because we're the adult and we have one story. But when we tune in to the child, and it's almost like regression that I do. We close our eyes, we go back to that age where they experienced the thing, and we just have a conversation with the little one, and we listen to her. Because most of the time when we were little, maybe we didn't feel heard, we didn't feel loved, we didn't feel accepted. Maybe we felt misunderstood, right? So when we go back as this, I call it the conscious adult, and we visit the inner child, and we just listen to her story or his story. What do they have to say? And we hear them. We're not trying to fix it, we're not trying to change it, not trying to judge it, nothing. We just let them be heard. And there's so much magic in that. Honestly, like, I'll do a session and I'll do an inner child regression, and nobody comes into the room, their moms or their dad or anyone or whatever, their families or anyone that they may have experienced. No one came in the room. Nothing happened. Nothing changed. All they did was close their eyes and go to that little one and experience it themselves. And even when they come out of it, like, I can even see, like, their faces have changed, the color in their face, like a whole different person has evolved. And the only reason why is because we just let them have a voice, let them be heard, without any judgment, without any shame. And it is the most powerful thing that I've ever done for my own healing, and the most powerful thing I've ever experienced or witnessed anybody else in their healing journey.
I love that. And even for myself, my inner dialogue used to be just straight up evil, I would say. It was evil for a really long time. And when I first started this practice, I mean, I can call myself as I am, but when I first started this practice, I would catch myself and I would say sweet baby girl or say sweet baby Ash. Yeah. And then even just with that intro, I wouldn't be able to talk the same shit that I was speaking to adult Ashley. Exactly. Because this baby does not deserve that. And I do this practice all the time in my yoga classes. At the end of yoga class, before we wake up out of Savasana, while everyone's still in their little in-between realm, you could say, I say, hover above yourself, look down and see yourself.
I know you. I've had that experience with you, and I do. That's so powerful.
And it's usually so different looking at yourself through your eyes versus looking at yourself through the eyes of someone else, either your best friend. I always say your dog for the people that are like, I have mommy issues, or like, I don't have any friends, or whatever BS they're telling themselves that day. Do you have a dog or a cat? How do they look at you? Because it's with unconditional love, and that is what we deserve and what we so deeply need. And even taking this full circle to the beginning, the first question that I asked you about, how did you find that it was your purpose? I think that when we're kids, we know our purpose, or we know what lights us up, because that's all we're doing. And it's not until we are indoctrinated and told that's not what an adult does. That's not a realistic dream, that we mold everything, versus then we're just these adults stuck in lives that we hate because we were told to be that way, versus dropping into what did sweet little baby Ashley want to do and doing that instead. And even in my own journey, I've always known I wanted to do this. And if I listened to my grandparents or friends or other family members that said, you don't have the money, or there's no way that you can be a doctor, or you're not smart enough, or whatever it was, I wouldn't be here. So I'm grateful that little baby Ashley, she was loud then. She was loud then. She's loud now.
Good.
Yeah.
Let her be loud. Let her take up space as much as she needs. And yes, because she deserves it, as do each and every single one of us.
Little baby Ashley wanted to wear the cheetah pants today, and little Ninny wanted to wear that today.
My little Ninny. Yeah, this is definitely a Ninny outfit. Yes. Ninny's my inner child, for those of you.
You'll know that when you read her book.
Yes.
Ninny is a star of the book.
Yeah.
Wow. Sweet baby Gianna, I love you so much. I just needed to pause and say that you are an incredible human. You are a phenomenal healer. And it's even hard for me to describe you when I tell people that I went into business with one of my best friends. They're like, what does she do? I'm like, well, she's basically an angel in a human body, and she can do all sorts of different healing modalities. And I would love for my listeners to just hear you list out some of the things that you offer here in this incredible space, so that they know ways that you can support them.
Awesome. I, like I mentioned, I do like soul counseling sessions, and that is where we will visit the inner child and just get really clear. But I can meet anyone where they're at. They don't have to go through crises or trauma. I just meet people where they're at, and we just get some good love going, and we get a plan and goals going. So that's those. But I also offer things like sound healing, which is one of my favorite things. And I also have my own line of crystal alchemy bowls. I offer energy healing, like things like Reiki. And I do some beautiful body work as well. So I do these beautiful, amazing body massages. You may have heard of them. They're called raindrop technique. And that's where it's like a full clearing of the spine. So yeah, I do different things. So we got stuff for the spirit, we got stuff for the mind, we got stuff for the heart, and we got stuff for the body as well. So that's what I'll be offering in here. I like to call it like integrative healing. And soul sessions is what I love to call them. So that's what I do.
And you're also a chocolatier.
I'm a chocolatier, and I'm also I love writing. So I'm about to release my new oracle card deck as well. So that will be, this is Soul of a Spirit Warrior. My oracle cards will be Spirit Warrior oracles, and they have everything that we talked about today. Like a card for each topic we talked about today, and each angel and element.
They're so beautiful. I've gotten a sneak little peek at the art, and it's unbelievably gorgeous. And I could just imagine that the messages are going to be absolutely divine. Truly, everything that you've ever created, I love. I love so much. You're welcome, and I will continue to root you on and support you through all the different things that you do with me, without me, all of it. Because I truly feel like you're a sister of mine in this life, and I am forever grateful for you.
100% sisters for life and other lifetimes. And yes, we cried over this the other day, but we we just love each other so much.
It's ridiculous.
We're so proud of each other.
I know.
We're so proud of us and what we've created. So thank you for having me and for just being a sister, a real sister and amazing doctor.
Thank you, my babe. So before we tune off, I would love for you to share anything that you want with my listeners, something from your heart. It could be a truth bomb, a love bomb, a knowledge bomb, or just a little nugget of wisdom from your heart.
I think I'm going to go with this. This was the first thing that came to me because you have mentioned it a couple times lately. So I'm going to drop with this. And so Ashley has told, and she brought it up, is that something that I used to say in my yoga classes years ago, which is that you are the most important person in your world. And that may be so hard to fathom for some people, of like uncomfortable, of like, oh my gosh, I'm so important. But the truth is, you are the most important person in your world. So fill up your cup and do the work that you need to do on yourself, because it'll just create an even greater version of who you are. Not to say you're not perfect the way that you are right now, because you are, but the more that we fill up our own cup and know that we are so important and we are the most important person in our world, the more that we can shine that light out into others as well.
Wow, I didn't know you were going to share that, and I'm happy that you did, because I remember the first time that you said that. And for the listeners that are like, there's no way that I'm that important, that I'm deserving of all of this. The first time I heard that, I didn't think so. It astounded me. It shocked me. It rocked me. I was like, me? I'm the most important person in my world? And I will never forget it. So I'm so happy that that was your truth bomb. It has changed my life. You have changed my life and continue to bring so much joy and love into every single day, into this space. And I'll just keep telling you that I love you until the end of time.
I love you till the end of time too.
Well, I'm sure that we'll have you on to share more things. Thank you all for tuning in. Welcome to our jungle in the Ashira Rose Healing Collective. Stay tuned for all new Drop It Like It's Doc stuff and everything Ashira Rose and everything Gianna Mauceri.
Thank you for listening.
I love it when you